Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session, expert Q&A session, where I bring experts from the Amazon seller industry, and we are answering, or the expert is answering your questions and my questions. So this time I invited Aaron O'Sullivan, I hope I pronounced your name, Aaron. Hello, Aaron.
Hey, Augustus, and hey, everybody watching. Thrilled and honored to be here.
Yes, and Aaron, right? Probably.
Aaron.
Aaron, okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Probably. So you are an expert in outsourcing tasks for Amazon sellers and systemizing the kind of the business, which obviously should bring better results and the growth to the business. So can you explain how it all started for you, kind of a little introduction, and how do you help Amazon sellers at the moment, and how can they find you?
Absolutely. So it started in 2013. Started my first e-commerce business then, and we quickly grew that. And we needed to start building a team because in 2014 I was doing everything, and the business plateaued. So I spent a lot of time in the Philippines helping build a team of 45 staff, and it was my job to build all the systems and processes and nurture the team culture to grow, our brands and other people's brands. So through that experience, I kind of, trial and error and a lot of failure, realized what works and what kind of doesn't work. And now we help high 6 and 7 figure Amazon sellers to get things off their plate, get organized, and so they can keep scaling.
Great. And can you mention the website where people can find more about your work?
Absolutely, yeah. So that is systemscultureimpact.com, and you could go there. There's also a free PDF which will help you get started with systems to get stuff off your plate and kind of get organized. Teaches you on how to create a well-oiled product launch machine.
Yes, and actually this link, which Aaron just mentioned, I put it in the description of the video as well, so you can click it. It's systemscultureimpact.com/launch, I think, the website address, and you can check that giveaway from Aaron at the moment. And while we are starting the conversation, those who are on the live call, you're welcome to type in the questions in the chat box for Aaron, and I will give them to him. And meanwhile, let's start with, so when we talk about organizing the team, and I think when I listen to your content, you talk about systemizing the processes. So what does it mean, systemizing the processes?
Yeah, a lot of the time when you say that to people, their eyes glaze over because it's like, totally not something that entrepreneurs typically want to actually do. And I totally understand why, because most entrepreneurs are the visionaries. They're they want to, create a big vision and race towards it, but the details kind of get lost. But there will become a point in which, if you don't start to get organized in your business and document your systems in terms of how you can grow and maintain your business, there will be a glass ceiling for which you can grow. And a lot of sellers reach that because they're frankly doing everything. And when you start your business, you have to do everything. That's the nature of the beast. But there comes a point where doing that is actually going to hold you back from having the life that you want with your family and your friends, and also creating the business that you desire and deserve.
So, of course, I think it's easy to identify processes. So let's say it's an Amazon seller. What kind of processes are the most time consuming and should be the systemized first? And what does it mean to systemize? What exactly we have to do?
Yeah, okay. So we'll start with the first one. The first question is, okay, what's the first kind of area of the business to get off your plate? So
Yes.
basically there's going to be a lot of repetitive, high frequent, low value tasks which come up every day that frankly is costing you kind of a lot of money and a lot of growth if you do them. So these things tend to be customer service, every customer service type task. So that's commenting on reviews, negative and positive, trying to remove negative reviews, processing refunds, reconciliation of inventory, manning your customer inboxes, whether that's on Amazon, whether that's Facebook, whether that's your external store, and every kind of repetitive task that somebody else could do for you is typically some of the first things that you want to offload. But with that said, you've got things coming at you from every direction. From in your personal life, you've got stuff coming at you in the business. So this is not just about offloading your Amazon processes or offloading your Amazon systems, for instance, customer service. You've got things in your own home like cleaning, like ordering your shopping, like laundry, all these things that also can be taken off your plate to give you more time in your day to focus on profit generation, to keep growing your business. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So let's take the process of answering, you said answering the questions of the product listing, let's say. So for me, if I have a virtual assistant, it's clear. I tell him or her, if you see a question in the Amazon product listing, just answer. Like, what kind of systematization we can implement here?
Right. So if we zoom out at the 30,000 foot level and look in the business, because it's really, really useful to zoom out from your business and look at it from a bird's eye perspective, because when we are so in the business, it's hard to see how we can actually segment different parts of the business. The old saying, when you're so close to the trees, you can't see the forest. So if we zoom out and we take that whole area, we call it the customer love system. So that's commenting on reviews and Q&As on the listings, and answering seller feedback, and all that we call it the customer service or customer love system. So when you define all of these, each one of them is a process, right? So answering Amazon messages inside of the seller account, answering Q&A on the listing, we call it strategic questions and answers, where we kill objections in the answers that we provide, so helps people say yes more. Another example would be commenting on positive reviews, commenting on negative reviews. All these are processes inside of a system. So together, all of these individual processes, or procedures, another word for it, these make up the customer service system in our world. Okay, so that's an easy way for you guys to look at it. And the question I think you asked was, okay, so how do you actually start to build that into a process which gets taken care of every day, right?
Yes, how to create the system. So what is the system? What do I need to do?
Yeah, so in terms of the system, first you do a download of all of the individual processes like I just talked about, and then each actual process, let's say answering questions and answers on the Amazon listings. So to build a procedure for that, what you do is open up a draft Google Doc. If you're doing this right now, then the next time you actually go and do that, open up a draft and then just build some basic bullet points of the steps that you take to get started. And after a few times of actually doing that, you're going to have a pretty solid SOP, or standard operating procedure, on exactly how to do that specific procedure. So that's one way you can do it. If you don't have a team right now, it's probably best for you to do that. Or you can record a video using a service like loom.com. So use loom.com, where you're just filming yourself answering the questions and answers on the listing. And then you can hand that to a VA when they join your company and say, create me a procedure, which is a written documentation of exactly how to do that.
So procedure probably will include screenshots and all right. And you mentioned SOPs. Not everyone might know the abbreviation. Can you expand on this and where it's coming from? What does it mean?
Sure, absolutely. So I heard this once in a book by Sam Carpenter, and it was really profound to me. He says the only difference between a small business and a huge business is procedures. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. And a procedure is the exact step-by-step on how to do a specific task. And in our world, we call it's a standard operating procedure, which is a document that your team or yourself follow and use every time that you execute a specific task. And this allows you to hand it off to somebody else. It allows, if that somebody else is sick or not present, then somebody else can pick it up and implement that procedure without any training. And ultimately, it enables your business to grow without you having to do everything.
Mhm. All right. And what kind of, like, if to go practical, what kind of tools do you suggest for Amazon sellers to use in order to document this SOPs? You mentioned Loom, which is for video recording, which you later give to your assistant to document and to write down everything. And you mentioned Google Docs. Is this what you would suggest, to have Google Docs folder?
Yeah. So if you're not using Google G Suite, I highly recommend it because it's incredible. It used to be called Google Apps for Business, but ultimately it gives your business a Google account and access to all the docs, Google Docs, Google Sheets, slides, and Google Sites as well, which is a way on how you can store all of your documentation. But if you're just getting started and your revenue and your profit's not quite there yet for you to get a G Suite account, they're not much each month. They're, I think, £10 or something per user. $10 depends on where you are.
I think it's $4 or €4 per user. At least I'm paying this price.
For you, exactly. So it's not that much. So it's a great investment, and it allows you to all sync across. All of your new team members when they join you. It just provides a seamless integration. So you can share documents with them, and they can update them. And it creates a real fluid way to keep your procedures updated. I would either if you're getting started with this stuff, just use a Google Sheet, which is a spreadsheet on Google, where you can just add in all of your procedures. Once you define, like we just done earlier, we said, okay, we're going to list all the procedures in the customer service system, and then you just add them to a Google Sheet, and then in the next column, you would add the link to the Google document where you've written out the procedure, and then this can be your kind of filing cabinet of procedures on how you run your different areas of the business.
So at some point you mentioned, and when the new team member joins the team, you already have a SOP. So let's talk about onboarding the team member. But actually, maybe before we talk about onboarding new team member, what is your opinion when the Amazon seller should start thinking about building a team? Should they think about a first team member when they are sourcing the first product, or what would be your suggestion?
I don't think there's any time early enough. I think as soon as you can, start thinking about and being aware of the things in your business which could be handed over to somebody. You don't have to go and hire immediately, but you can and bring somebody on full time or part time. You can actually hire out processes these days. There's so many services out there where you can outsource by the minute in some cases. So for a specific part of a procedure, or just taking something off your plate. So at the beginning, it's going to be really, really helpful if you can be understanding the first things that you want to offload. And the reality is, the faster you can remove low value, high frequency tasks, the faster your business will grow, as you will be able to focus on profit generation. And that might be launching new products, dialing in your PPC, open up new marketplaces, the real strategic things which are going to move the needle on your profit and your business growth. So the short answer is, Augustus, there's no, for me, I think you should start looking to outsource, immediately as you start your business. It's never too early.
Yeah, I agree. Of course, most of the time it is a financial investment into a team member. It can be in a third world country, but yeah, whenever you see you have few $100 left, or you can invest into a team member per month for part-time job, it's probably a good way to let business grow long term much faster. So, and you mentioned that of course there are agencies which help with these team members. Let's talk a little bit about your service. So you basically help, you have a big team or a big how to say agency which can help to bring team members to Amazon sellers, right?
Right. So I'll give you a bit of an overview, a very quick one. So we work with 6- and 7-figure Amazon sellers that are in growth mode, and we remove areas of the business like customer service, or we call it the customer love system. We remove things like inventory management and all the back office things that sellers keep them bogged down, things that they know they need to do, but kind of either don't get to them, or they do them in reaction, and they're kind of like fighting fires. So we also are helping sellers with leveraging their email list. And we know that e-commerce in general has one of the highest amount of businesses who don't leverage their assets in terms of email lists. So we're taking people's email lists and using them to rank products and increase profit, and ultimately reviews for their company.
Great. And I see already Locutus is asking, I wonder if I can have a VA handling all purchasing cycle with Chinese suppliers when you have to control not only the product quality, but also other details. They get overwhelmed with more than 2 questions. Probably this person means that VAs get overwhelmed with more than 2 questions. So the question was if he can hire a VA to handle all the purchasing cycle with Chinese suppliers. I can imagine it takes a lot of energy.
Right. So I just want to clarify before I give an answer. So the question is, managing inventory of existing products, can you hand that off to a VA? That's the question, right?
I think the question is about handling to VA the process of purchasing. Well, probably, yeah, purchasing inventory. I understood maybe that person wants to know if he can give sourcing part of the product. But yeah, probably it's more about inventory that the VA checks when the inventory runs out and then to order new one.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a VA that it depends on the role, what you're hiring for. So let's say, you worked out that you're spending 10 hours a week on inventory management, and that's like forecast and analysis, that's placing orders, POs with your suppliers, chasing them for the shipments to be pushed out, printing labels, following up, all that stuff, reconciling your inventory. All that stuff will bucket into one area called inventory management. It's just easier to put that label on it. Within that system, there is, again, just like we talked about earlier, a lot of different individual processes which are involved to make that happen. So forecast and an analysis is probably, is the thing which happens on a weekly basis or bi-weekly, depends on the business, where you can get clear on the amount of volume that you're going to need to order, and that will trigger a series of other processes. I've got Siri talking to me. That will trigger a series of other processes in that system. So you can offload this to team members, of course, but you just need to make sure that if you're going to offload critical parts of that system, the team members need to be competent for the role 100%, and they need to know exactly how you're going to want it taken care of, because if you're hiring like just any VA and expecting them to be able to work out the whole inventory management system without you coaching and mentoring them, then it's going to be tricky for them. I would recommend hiring a specialist who's got results in the past for that, for inventory management, and they have experience in that, and they can actually help you build that system instead of you having to build it all yourself. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, I hope so too. It made sense to me. All right, so let's continue the chat about onboarding the team members. I know you are specializing in this. You even give presentations about that. So very shortly, what's your tip to, let's say someone found a VA to help them in Amazon business, and what's the best way to efficiently take the full advantage of this new team member?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It comes up quite a lot. It does all start way before you onboard them, and I just want to give you a quick high level of what that is first, because one of the biggest mistakes I see is people try and hire a VA and onboard them without being clear on what they're going to offload beforehand. And what happens is, in that situation, they onboard somebody, they have no framework, they have a couple of tasks to offload, and they end up spoon feeding them tasks, and the excitement kind of fizzles out between the employee, the employer and the new team member, and it leaves both feeling a bit deflated and frustrated. So it starts way back on understanding what you're going to offload first. So what I would highly recommend is to understand the things you want to get off your plate. First, download all the things that you've been doing over the last couple of weeks. Track, have a look in your to-do lists, your calendar, and get all the tasks on a Google Sheet, so you can get clear on all the things that you've been doing that you want to get off your plate. And then the second thing you're going to do is track your time. This is not sexy, but it will definitely be one of the biggest drivers in your business growth if you apply it. And this means for 2 weeks, every half an hour, track your time on exactly what tasks you're doing. And at the end of that 2 weeks, you're going to have amazing data. And it's going to, this really did give me a kick up the backside the first time I'd done this. I thought I was really productive, and it was quite humbling to realize that I really wasn't. And it gave me the push I needed to offload. And if you do that every 6 months, you're going to always, your roles always should be evolving as the leader, as the CEO. And these two things are going to be fundamental in enabling your business to grow. And if you don't do that, you'll hit the glass ceiling of growth. And it all happens. It happens to almost everybody in any business. So download your tasks and then track your tasks for 2 weeks, and then you can rank all of these tasks in order of highest velocity at the top and lowest value. And this is going to be your strike list of tasks to give your new hire. So this is going to build the job description to give your new VA. So that's where we start, because if you just go and hire a VA and give them a couple of tasks, it's going to be a not a great experience. So if you have clarity, that builds the job description. They know what they're accountable for. They know the responsibilities, and they can help you immediately with clarity remove that from your plate. So that's the first thing, right? Is getting clear on all of these tasks that you want to hand over. When you actually go and hire a VA, the onboarding process is a framework to follow, so you can methodically hand over these tasks to your new hire over the course of the next 6 or 8 weeks as you onboard them. I'm just going to check in with you, Augustus, and make sure this is all making sense to you, and it's clear.
It actually, when you were talking about have processes or tasks, a list of tasks already before hiring a VA, I remembered my what happened to me 1 year ago, or less than 1 year ago. Last year I tested different kind of VAs, but when I hired the very first one, I was very excited. I had a lot of, for example, video transcripts to work on, And then kind of he did all the tasks, and I'm like, I was struggling every 3 or 4 days thinking what else I can give him. I hired him like part-time only. And I was like, really, it was taking for me energy to think what I can give to this man to work for. It was really challenging. So it's
Yeah,
important to have everything written down.
yeah, I absolutely love that, and that happens to most people when they're first starting out. With it happened to me, when I first hired my first VA. It's just normal, but when you have a clear framework of this is this is where when you open the doors to somebody open the doors to your company to somebody, and you say, even when they're coming in from the job description, they know exactly what they're going to be responsible for. They know the results that they're accountable for, and what's required. That's going to create so much clarity for them. They're going to be eager to get into your company and start really kicking some ass and really helping you out. When you don't have that, it creates uncertainty on both sides of the table, and again, the excitement fizzles out quickly, and it becomes a to-do list on like you just said. It's they're coming to you, and it puts more weight on your shoulders. Their role is to lift things from your shoulders, not actually add more stuff in. So
Yes, so yeah, it's really interesting. But you mentioned to track the tasks for 2 weeks. Uh, how do you suggest to do that? For example, when I sit down at the computer, and within 1 hour, I probably touched 5 different tasks, and of course, I have to sort out the productivity issue I have. But once you want to track really the tasks you're doing, do you suggest any kind of tools or just a manual on the paper?
yeah, so I always used to say, okay, use digital, but there's nothing that beats good old fashioned pen and paper and have it on the desk, because what happens is you have so many tabs open. There's tools like Toggle where you can just log it, but that doesn't get put to use as easily if you just have on your desk a spreadsheet of a simple table of the task and the time spent. And if you do this every 30 minutes, you're going to, honestly, this will change your life. I can't say that enough. This is one of the most important tools you can have as a leader in your company, as a business owner, is quarterly or every 6 months, do it, tracking your time. And at the end of the 2 weeks, so let's say today, for instance, let's say tomorrow, you print out the spreadsheet. It's a basic table of the task and that you was doing, and it's got all the times along the side in another column. So you can clearly see it in 30-minute increments, and there's a box next to it for this specific task you was doing in that time. So at the end of the day, you can go back through and label these tasks that you spent time on. This could be going to the gym, it could be cooking, it could be cleaning, it could be responding to an Amazon customer service message, it could be on your phone, Facebook for 20 minutes. Really put down every single thing, and it's gonna literally be revolutionary in your productivity. And I can't stress this enough. And what happens when we do this the first time? People are like, oh my God, I cannot believe how much time and how unproductive I was. It's one of the most common used tools amongst top businesses and CEOs and leadership teams, because it just works. So at the end of the
Okay.
day, you're going to be able to see the tasks you're working on, which if they weren't ultimately driving you forward towards your outcomes that you're looking to hit, you can afford to get it off your plate. So I'll just say as a quick to label these tasks. There's a framework which you can use, which I learned from a guy called Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach, who's a legendary coach in the business world, and he has a 4 framework for this to label each task. The first one is incompetent. This is where, frankly, you're not very good at it, you don't enjoy it, and you know that you shouldn't be doing it. The second one is competent, which means yes, you've become competent at it. You still know you shouldn't be doing it, but you might think that nobody else can do this because you are the best at it. The third label is excellent, and this is you've pretty much mastered this skill. It's something that you do, but it doesn't really light you up. And the fourth label is your zone of genius, and this is the parts of the business that nobody else can do as good as you. These are usually the creative parts. If you're a visionary leader, the product creation, the strategy, all the things that really light you up, and part of the reason you got into the business in the first place. So there are 4 labels you can assign to these tasks, and everything which is not zone of genius, that is on your strike list to be removed. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, very nice tips. But what I'm thinking, like, it sounds all great I would like to have, like, 10 people. Of course, at the end, it is a question of money. So do you think that entrepreneurs should kind of come out of some kind of mindset that maybe they don't have enough money to hire? Maybe they have to, like, just invest more than they think they can into a team member, and they will see results, let's say, in 3 months. I don't know if I put the question correctly, but I'm just thinking that now I would love to have 10 people working for me, but obviously I am afraid, like, to invest this big amount because I will think I'm not making any money afterwards. But probably I have to think long term.
Yeah, well, you do it incrementally. You wouldn't go from 0 to 10 people. You'd go from 0. You'd do, at that stage when you're a one-man band, you're doing everything. You're getting revenue. You're getting some initial sales. And that's fine. But the first thing you're going to do is identify through tracking your time, like I mentioned, and identify the things which you could gain back 5 hours a week, and you just start there. 5 hours a week is now going to be offloaded to somebody else. You can outsource stuff by the minute these days, so it's not going to take a lot of cash to do that. And as you reallocate that 5 hours to higher value tasks, your business revenue increases, profit increases, and then at that stage you can offload another part of these processes that you've identified, and you kind of keep building yourself out of all of the day-to-day, and that role never changes. As you continue to build and scale and grow your company, that needs to be done periodically, or you always hit that glass ceiling. And that's true if you go up to, like, 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, a billion. You will see that all the leaders of these companies that have done that always had to radically change their behaviors ongoing, and that is done by removing these, the areas of the business which are holding you back if you do them, and that changes as you build and grow and scale. But to get started, just start small, get things off your plate, personal stuff and professional, in your business.
So better to put away or to invest as much as it is comfortable. You shouldn't go over your budget, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you need to look at what your business can afford. But if you know that you're doing, let's just say you're doing 10 hours a week on customer service, and that that's 40 hours a week, 40 hours a month, and that you can launch one extra product with 40 hours a month, and let's just say you can bring in an extra 20k a month. If you launch a product and you've done it well, 20k a month in sales, which is not not unusual at all, then that 40 hours on somebody else's plate is very much worth it.
Sure. And we have a question about your services. So how does your service work? Is that person charged by the hour, by task accomplished, or monthly fee, or some other pricing strategy or structure? Is there any warranty on the service offered by the VAs? So you are welcome to, as you mentioned, you work with 6 and 7 figure sellers. It's not for small sellers, right?
Yeah. So I mean, historically, we we've been, coaching people, but our main focus is really um, having taken things off people's plates, and that's customer. We call it the customer love system, inventory management, and email marketing, and so forth. I'll be more than happy to chat to that person, whoever asked. Feel free to reach out, and if it makes sense, I'll send over all the details for you.
What's the best way to reach out to you?
In terms of, it's probably just Aaron at systemscultureimpact.com will probably be
Yeah.
the best.
The website address you will find in the description. So
Mhm.
just add Aaron at and then domain name systemscultureimpact.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And we have a question about virtual assistants. I think it's very important topic for all Amazon sellers. So uh, Power Khan is asking, how can you be sure that these virtual assistants do not mess things that can be detrimental to business? So he's talking about the trust.
Yeah, it's a big one for most, to be honest. And um, it all begins with the hiring process. If you're going to hire somebody into your company, part-time or full-time, then it's about really getting people that fit your culture. They're true believers in what your business is about, and you have a strict and structured hiring process to bring on um, people in your company. So it depends on the situation, but if let's just say you hire a VA just to run customer messages inside of Amazon, inside of your seller account, then in that regard, there's not so much. If you're going to hire a VA, say from the Philippines or India or somewhere like that, then it's best to have these processes fully documented out for them, so they have clear instructions on how to do the tasks. They can help you build these documents, like we talked about earlier, where you could record a video of you answering messages, and they could come into your company and build that procedure out, and then you could, when it's right, you approve it, and then that new VA has exact instructions on how to do that task, and you want to have that VA either print that document out or have it open on their browser every time they respond to a customer. And every time they do that, they're going to find new ways on how to improve the procedure. And when they do have an improvement, they come to you and say, hey, boss, got a better way to answer customers. This is what I suggest. Do you approve it? And when you approve it, that becomes the new procedure. And that is the way how you keep your business processes updated over time.
And actually, about the trust, I also had a question marked from myself. How transparent should you be about your business, about the numbers? Should you share all your profit numbers? Or yeah, how
Yeah, I
far
think
to go?
it's a great question. I actually got asked this yesterday as well. So if it's a contractor, then they don't really need to know. It's if you're outsourcing, say design, for your new product, or they're creating some Amazon images for your product pages. Obviously, you don't need to be sharing details with, to contractors. But if you're bringing on a team member, part-time or full-time, and I truly believe that to really build a team culture, you need to be transparent with them and show them exactly what's going on in the business, and show them, because when people know, they can actually have your back. And if you're not including them in exactly what's going on in the business, and it's very vague, they're never going to feel like part of the company, and they're never going to give you their full commitment. When you are fully transparent, people, and when you're vulnerable to your team members, that's when you get all of the support and and the buy-in that you want from them to really help you grow your company. And it took me a long time to realize that. I spent the first couple of years not really revealing much, but when I did, and when I was just completely transparent, their barriers came down, and they ultimately put in way more effort and commitment to helping this company grow, when you are fully transparent. And here's the thing: they think that you make way more than you do, so that's what usually happens. And then when you're transparent and they actually see the numbers, it's relieving for them, because they know, oh well, I thought he was making 10 times more, and it creates more of a performance culture inside your company.
I liked the word you used, to be vulnerable for your team members. So it's a lot about all the people, let's say influencers online. They are vulnerable, and everybody knows their stories, and that's why kind of people want to know more about them. So it's the same inside the team, inside the company, where
Yeah.
the big boss is vulnerable. But my worry is, let's say I hire VA in Philippines and I pay him or her, let's say $1,000 a month, which is a big money in Philippines, I would say. But then that VA would know my numbers, and they see companies making, let's say, 2 million revenue per year. Don't they feel like they are underpaid, or you think it's a wrong worry?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. $1,000 to a team member in the Philippines is a blessing to them and their families, and they are thrilled and honored to help you in most cases. And if you give somebody, within hiring anybody, it's about having somebody that is fitting your culture first, somebody who has their attitude matches the culture of your company, and they're true believers in what you stand for and where you're going. And that's where it all starts back there. And if you hire somebody that wants to be part of something bigger than themselves, and there's a vision to your company, and you're positioned in that way, they're gonna, if you want to attract A players, you need to position your company so A players will be attracted. So if you are, if you're selling stuff on Amazon, and you're selling widgets, and there's no real clear purpose that somebody can get behind and be part of, real mission to the company or purpose, then the best people are not going to stick around, because ultimately they can go and help people make money all around the world. So when you have a clear vision and purpose that they can buy in and be part of, then ultimately they're going to be committed, and are going to be thrilled and honored to help you achieve that.
Great, thanks. And Phil B wants to know, what is the best source for hiring VAs? Where do I find them? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, so there's so many places nowadays, it's ridiculous. So just off the top of my head, if you're just looking for some VAs, there's of course FreeUp. There's Nathan. Oh,
Everything is okay? We can
yeah.
still.
Can you see me?
Yeah, well, I can see your shadow, yes.
Okay. Something just happened to my lights here.
Okay.
Okay. And my screen. That's odd. I think I might have had a power surge. So you can still see me. This is
yeah, we can see. Is it
okay.
Electricity issue?
It's snowing outside, so I think it might be a bit of a
Okay.
That's
so
that's
maybe
odd.
While you are sorting out, I will share the platforms I know for hiring VAs. So FreeUp is probably a great option. It is free with 3 times EEE, I think, and then up.com, something like that. They have a lot of e-commerce, how to say, VAs with e-commerce knowledge, but also recently they're expanding to other kind of different specializations, not only for e-commerce people. And I also hire my VAs time to time from via Upwork, which is more global freelancer searching website. It's not so much about VAs. You can find the designers, you can find script writers if you need for your video of your product, or yeah. And Aaron is back, I think.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and figure out what happened now. I think
Yeah.
we've had a power cut. But adding to what Augustus says, I mean, there is so many places these days. Another good one, which is worthwhile exploring, is getmagic.com, which is based out of California, but they have a team all over the world, and it's for personal stuff and business as well. So that's awesome. You can pay by the minute, which is pretty incredible.
Interesting. Getmagic.com. Yeah. For Amazon or e-commerce related businesses, I know there is a UR Tasker. I don't know. I haven't explored this company. I know UR Tasker, two letters, U and R, and then tasker.com. I think there is somebody else. Now I don't remember exactly. All right. And I have one important question. When we have team members, how to motivate them and how to reward them, because it's very easy, now someone is helping me, I'm paying, let's say, $500 a month for this guy. I forget that he's not only like a robot who is whom I'm outsourcing the tasks, but I have to remember that he has the same kind of life like me, a family, and of course, at some point he might get demotivated. Or how to motivate, how to reward? What is your recommendation?
Yeah, man, it's a great question. So when you hire right in the first place, and you've got a clear vision of where you're going, you've got clarity around what you're all there to achieve, and you've hired somebody that believes in that, you'll never have to motivate them. So one thing that causes businesses to have people where they drop off and they're not so motivated is if things keep changing every 10 minutes, there's no clear direction, people don't know whether they're coming or going. So one of the fundamental things that will change everything in your business, if you don't have this right now, is having strategic planning in place. And this is never talked about in our world. And what strategic planning means is clarity on where you're going for the year ahead. What are the the two major milestones, or the major milestones, that in your business, is it $1 million or $500,000? That's where you want to hit in the next year. And then having clarity on, okay, if that's where we're going in the next year, what do we need to achieve in the next 90 days, in the next quarter, to be on track for that goal? And then on the next level down, okay, what do we need to do in the next month, in the next 30 days, to be on track for the goals for the 90 days? And then bringing that all the way down on the weekly to say, okay, what do we need to do this week to be on track for the outcomes for the month, for the outcomes of the quarter, the outcomes for the year? That's how any businesses out there in the world, that we all know of, create real forward progress. Is these businesses plan like 5-6 years ahead. So if we can bring that into our own business and get clarity on yearlies, quarterlies, monthlies, weeklies, you can bring, that's how you attach the outcome that you're trying to achieve down into the day-to-day with your team. And if they have clarity on that, and you've got clear direction, and you're not changing every time that you have a new idea, which is what happens because most entrepreneurs are very visionary and want to just change things up, that creates a situation in the business where the employees can't win because you're changing up all the time and they don't have any clear direction. So to what you're saying, I would say hire somebody that really believes in what you're about, they believe in your purpose, and you have that clear for them, and then have a clear way on how you're going to move towards your outcomes, and clear responsibilities for them. So when they actually do stuff in your business, do tasks, that is moving you towards your outcomes, and celebrate them, right? Celebrate them when they do good. When you can create that environment, in that culture in your team, they're going to want to, get in on Monday morning and start moving towards your outcomes for the week, for the month, the quarter, and ultimately the year.
And how to celebrate? What do you mean celebrate?
People just want to be appreciated, man. So, I'm like, in our team meetings, we're always celebrating each other. Like, I just want to say, John really, really helped me out this week. Took this off took this off the plate and really, helped us move forward so I could get to this. So I just want to call John out, and I give them a round of applause, and we all celebrate, and we're a bit silly with it. But what it does is it really calls. We have a daily scrum that every day we get clarity on where we are for our week ahead, and anyone that's been awesome in the week, we celebrate them, and we create that positive forward momentum in that. So yeah, that's celebrate people for sure. I mean, that people just want to be appreciated.
Appreciation, cool.
Yeah.
And Phil is asking, is it necessary to visit your VAs once you hire and work with them probably long term? Will visiting them in person benefit their relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, with today's day and age, you've got Zoom and Google Hangouts and so forth. You can create a pretty amazing relationship with somebody, but there is nothing like going to meet people in person, being present with them. And and I recommend you do this with everybody you hire. Understand what they want. Everybody has desires and dreams, and if you can help them get that, I mean, my commitment to all of my team members is I want to help change their family's life and their life personally and professionally, and grow with them and help them grow as much as possible as human beings. And when they know that you have their back, and that creates incredible bonds, whether you're virtual or whether you're in person. And what we done last year, I think it was last year, we took our team to a lot of our team are in the Philippines. So what we're really all about, if I'm honest, is my life's purpose is how we can use business as a force for good, and how we can use business. I believe businesses are will solve all the world's greatest challenges. And what really bonded our team together is because our mission in our company is how we can help and end suffering in children in the Philippines, because there's so many children in poverty in that country. There's like 1 million street children. It's insane. So what we done is you don't have to go this far, but this is just part of our company. We took all of our team members to this one of the biggest slums in Asia, where we support this school and this charity. And we took all of our team to see all these children that we've been supporting and met them in person, and and just had a great time with them. And it was one of the most emotional but team bonding experiences I've ever been through. And it was incredible. We went there, we celebrated, we was helping them, we was feeding them, we was helping them go to school. And then after that, we went there as a team, we left as a family. It was incredible. So one thing I would say is, if you can, most people that own businesses want to use their business to create, impact in the world in some level. They want to help their families, of course, but most people, that they know there's greater contribution there. And we only work with people that really want to do that. And because ultimately, I think when we come together, all these incredible entrepreneurs, when we come together, we can solve some huge problems. So that's a long answer to a short question, but I would say, if you've got the opportunity to go to bond with your team members, of course, do it. Listen to them, be present with them, and really get to know them and appreciate them. Definitely important.
Great. Thanks a lot, Aaron. I think we will wrap up here. And can you one more time present your services? How do you help Amazon sellers, and how can they get in touch with you?
Of course, yeah. So we help Amazon sellers and e-commerce entrepreneurs by removing things like customer service, inventory management, and back office tasks. And we're helping pay for this service by running their email marketing for them, in some cases if they have an email list. So we turn these areas into profit centers for them. So it's not an expense, but an actual, it's making them cash instead of costing them money. So if you're looking for some help around that stuff, feel free to reach out. It's aaron@systemscultureimpact.com, or you can just go to our website and grab the free PDF, which is how to create a well-oiled product launch machine. Helps you get started with some systems, and I think Augustus is going to link in the show notes to that.
Yes, exactly. And we're sorry for light issue on Aaron's side in the middle of the session.
I know. First
And
time that's happened, I swear.
yeah, great. So thanks a lot, Aaron, and good luck in your business. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye now.